we've heard a few stellar EPs from yourself, and we've finally been treated to the album release, We Slept At Last. Tell us about taking this direction whereupon you were experimenting more and you took more of a darker turn for your material. I mean, it's always been there, but you really embraced that this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a lot to do with the headspace that I was in when I was writing, and the fact that I was writing within quite a small amount of time, you know, just a few months. So I was kind of in the same headspace for all of the songs. I'd just come out of a relationship, like my only kind of big long-term relationship, very shortly before I started writing for it. So I can hear that's present on the album, you know, that feeling of sort of loneliness and accepting that. And I moved up to London, moved out of my parents' house, and very much felt like I was like my own person for the first time in a really long time. Like it was just me, and I was having to deal with that and learn about myself. So yeah, it is quite dark, but it's also optimistic. I think the melodies particularly carry an optimistic streak, even if the lyrics put it back down to being dark again.
You're drawn towards things for the album which affect humanity, like racial differences and technology. How did that come into play?
I think it's just, you know, it's things that are just on my mind at the time, and even everything goes in and it all comes out somehow, you know. So there's stuff on there about kind of the direction that humanity's headed and how that, I mean, it worries me quite a lot. I think in words as the opening lyrics saying about if we were all born with a pylon between our eyes, we notice the grass through metal bars and things, you know. And I'm very much a sort of countryside raised child, and moving up to a big city and things like that, and just seeing kind of everything through concrete and windows and, you know, not vast spaces of green and things like that definitely affected me.
Was that a cathartic experience for you? Was it therapeutic to kind of, did you find some clarity as you tackled this type of subject matter?
Yeah, it is cathartic, definitely. I mean, I think that's why I write, and I've always been inclined to write. It's I've never been very good at talking about my feelings. You know, I'm almost robotic in that sense sometimes, but when I write songs, for some reason it gets it all out. But I can cover it up. I can be a bit more abstract, and I'm not being so much with my heart on my line. It's just, you know, being frank with someone and telling them exactly how I feel. I can just process it and then turn it into something that is separate from me, and then look at it and analyse it in that sense.
Was it pleasing for you that, you know, there's such a wide range within the album? Was it pleasing for you that there were so many different genres, but it all links together? Yes,
definitely. And I think that the reason I was able to do that was because of them all being, the songs were being written close together, and that my voice stays quite similar the whole way through, and it's quite a distinctive voice. So it kind of gels it, even though I managed to explore several different genres, which is really fun, because like each track you come to, it's like, oh, what are we going to do with this one, rather than kind of like, yeah, okay, let's bosh out the acoustic guitar again and make a nice little record.
Yeah, and I understand you actually had anxiety, you know, attacks and trouble sleeping, and whilst most can kind of suppress this part of the brain or sort of ignore it, for you as a writer, you feel like you really have to go there.
Yeah.
You know, what did you learn from this in particular?
That, you know, it's necessary to push yourself and to go into those areas and explore them, and I think it's quite healthy, but it's good to draw a line somewhere and not run yourself into the ground. I mean, anxiety is something that I think everyone deals with pretty much on a day-to-day basis, and I know that it wasn't just because of writing, you know, there's other things that were always going on, but particularly in that moment I was my brain was sort of running at this speed that I suddenly couldn't deal with, and it hadn't been like that for a while, and it was because I was just digging and digging and digging and digging, and then suddenly, you know, you hit something that's been in there for a while and kind of comes out. It's a bit terrifying.
I wanted to get your views on some of the material. Firstly, Open Wide, with a really grungy feel and a distinct riff that kind of really sticks. And this was unusual for you too, because it actually formed from the riff itself.
Yes, yeah, totally. So I wrote that guitar riff, and yeah, I was trying to write a melody to go around the riff, so it was more like a guitar part underneath, and then I was like, actually, you know what, that riff just stands alone as itself, and so I wrote the rest of the song based around that. And obviously a guitar riff like that needs to be treated production-wise in quite a grungy way, that you couldn't really do anything else with that. So that was really fun, because it was kind of the first time I'd written a song like that, you know, and a bit heavier, and it's fun to play live as well, because I can kind of, I don't know, rock out a little bit.
The song entitled Animal Fear. I mean, when you're constructing and you're structuring a song like this, you know, is there a certain type of, you know, aspect that dictates where you want to go, or a certain type of immediacy, or is it just organic?
It's very organic, I would say. I mean, lyrically, I tend to think about it a little bit more, but when it comes to the melodies and chord progressions and things, it's just me playing my guitar and sort of singing random stuff over the top, and then something will suddenly, I'll be like, oh god, yeah, no, I like that bit, and then you start to work around that, and it's a very natural process. I never sit down and think how I'm going to write a song beforehand, or what I'm going to write it about, or even what key or anything I'm going to write it in. Most of the time we get to the studio and Charlie says, oh, what key is the song, and I just have no idea. So
change can be scary, but is it necessary for you to push boundaries and create new sounds? Is that very much a key ethos of what you are progressing to do as an artist?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to keep it constantly moving and changing, just for me, really, because it could get very boring doing the same old thing over and over again. But in terms of sort of weird sounds and things that go on there, or people pick up on strange melodies and strange chord progressions, they don't feel strange to me, they don't feel weird to me, because those are the things that come into my mind when I'm either writing or I'm in the studio. So I never think like, oh, this is great, it's a really weird noise. It's just like, yeah, that's what should be there, you know.
Tell us about the visual side of things as well. I mean, the video for Drown is a stellar, splendid video. And I understand this was, you know, very mature idea, and you went through a host of directors till you found the right treatment that you wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, how pleased were you with the end result? It's very striking.
Yeah, very pleased.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite videos.
And the concept of you, and how did that come about? I mean,
yeah, it was one of those things where I had this grand idea, and then I actually got to the studio on the day, and I was like, oh god, I actually have to do this now. But yeah, so I had the idea that I knew that I wanted it to be a performance video underwater, and keep it, you know, very simple, just to be something quite dark and quite beautiful. And so we pitched that out to a load of directors, and they will come back with their take on my treatment, basically. And the one that really stuck out for me was by Brian and Carl, because it had a hand holding me down. Then they added that aspect into it, which obviously just really made it that dark edge, you know, that it's kind of like you start asking questions, you know, whose hand is that, why is she under there, you know, and it's elevates it to a different level. So I was really impressed with that, and so we had a few meetings together and then just got on with it, and it was quite an experience shooting that.
I wanted to ask you also about, you know, the live side of things. I mean, you know, you're very much in the touring circuit right now, and festival season is just around the corner, and you're going to be performing at Green Man, Tramlines, Latitude. Yeah. What's the transition like for you, going from playing in closed gigs to playing in a festival? Is it a seamless transition?
It's seamless in the sense that I don't prepare in any other way, you know, for each show. It's definitely the same thing. The shows are always very different. There's a certain amount of guilt I feel when I play at festivals because of the type of music that I play, and usually, you know, it's a sunny day, everyone's a little bit drunk, they're at a festival, they want to have fun, and then I might be a bit kind of morose on stage. But no, yeah, it's definitely it's the same thing all the time. Just, you know, I don't have any premeditated rituals before I go out on stage or anything like that for anything, so it is just a case of me walking out with my guitar and playing. But yeah, just the sense of guilt.
You just mentioned people being drunk, and I wanted to ask you, do your parents, you know, you said you've got such massive support from them and you're so grateful, do they still get drunk and listen to your music through the speakers?
Probably, I don't know. They haven't admitted to it recently if they have. I think they're very sick of my album now. As
you head forward as an esteemed artist and someone who's commended for her work, what are the key fundamentals that you hope to maintain and stay true to?
Well, it's just the work ethic, I think. The most important thing being just making records, you know, that are true to myself, that, you know, I'm not doing anything to please anyone else. As long as I'm happy with the records that I'm putting out, and touring, those are the most important things. I don't ever want to get lost in any other aspects of this industry. It's just making records and performing is all I'm interested in. And if I'm allowed to do that in the way that I want to, that's what's important to me.